and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Anna?
Dodo Johnson.
Here.
Katie Johnston.
Here.
Diana Mendoza. Here. Lee Pettit.
Here.
Tyler Wilson.
Here.
Robin Vaughn. John Roberts.
Here. To action agenda corrections modifications. We just make the motion. I'll do that. Motion to approve the agenda, removing and correcting items as presented. Get a second.
I second.
Thank you, Diana.
Dodo Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Lee Pettit.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Roberts.
Aye. Thank you. Time for public comments. Speaking. Now you're. Are we ready?
Wait, what?
We're gonna have Mr. Lawrence speak first. If he'd like to come up.
And Mr. Lawrence, if you could turn on the microphone and speak to the microphone.
Thank you. You know, it's on one short. Thank you.
My name is Mike Lawrence. I've lived in Rantoul for 10 years. I'm here to speak in support.
Can I ask that you just,
Speaking in the microphone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me well?
yeah.
Thank you very much.
My name is Greg Lawrence. I've lived in Rantoul for 10 years. I'm here to speak in support of the change to Brad Center School. Fortunately, the change means that we will have to send our child to daycare before school, just like many other parents already. But it also means that they will get to go to school and follow their graduating high school class through the rest of their school career. My understanding is that the changes are for load balancing and cost savings due to changing demographics in the district. The alternative to this change is raising property taxes. We already have one of the highest property tax rates in the country. If taxes go up, it will impact families much more than this change. It's a good compromise. Dr. Woods would not be suggesting this change if he thought it would hurt education. There's a handful of very vocal people who are against the change. The change will have minimal to no real impact on the majority of faculty and students. Some people fear change, others just like have something to be angry about. Some teachers don't want to switch schools, others have unfounded fear that they will lose their jobs. There are practical issues with this change, but most of the complaints are edge cases that can easily be solved as long as parents are willing to work together with school administrators. Others bring up unfounded concerns with the efficacy of the change. Majority of opponents are viewing the change from an emotional place. I have full faith in the ability of the school's administrators to figure out the logistics required. The majority of issues will resolve themselves when the time comes. There are much bigger issues to address in this change. Unfortunately, bad faith political opportunists are using this as a way to undermine public opinion. I've seen calls to vote out the school board and get rid of Dr. Woods. There's a real threat to public education in this country. Extremists are running for school boards everywhere. It's already happening in other states. Indiana is closing 5 school districts right now so they can be privatized. In the coming months and years, it will only get worse. We'll face threats to federal funding over cultural war issues like teaching certain topics or having a teacher's fee. Blue states will be targeted the most. Teachers will face serious criminal charges for teaching topics like gender identity or sexism. There are serious concerns with immigration services coming into schools to detain students and teachers. Children will be separated from the families and never be seen again. We have to live with the constant looming threat of violence against schools as well. These are real issues that we should be worried about, not a minor administrative change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Kayla Logan. And I just decided as board president, you have 1 minute.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I can get this
The
done.
audience is all going like this.
All right, so,
Talking, make sure you're talking about.
hello.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so I'm here today to encourage you to make a decision on the reorganization of the schools, grade level centers, whatever you decide to do. I personally would prefer the grade level centers. Make a decision. As a teacher, I understand that I'm in a very good position being the music teacher at East Lawn. However, you need to make a decision because I want to know what is going on next year. The families need to know what's going on next year. Everybody needs to know what's going on. And there's so much left on the table that we can't do until you all make a decision. make a decision. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is I want to invite you to East Lawn for our East Lawn events. We have two big events coming up. Yeah, it's right in front of you on that purple piece of paper. Save those dates. On February 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. We're going to have our special persons dance. And as I've said before, I throw on a very good dance. And then March, we don't have a family event scheduled because we have parent-teacher conferences. But then in April, we do have our spring showcase. It's going to be first grade, third grade, and fifth grade. If you are unable to make the evening performance at 6 p.m., we do one at 1:45. That is like our dress rehearsal, and I'm very, very excited about it. Because this winter, the students read a book to the audience, and the vast majority of the students in the monolingual and the bilingual classes were able to, I recorded them, and then the audience got to hear all of their voices read the book. It was really, really cool. And so I plan to do that with fifth grade as we read the book Elmer for this concert. So I'm very excited and I hope to see you there. Also, in addition, you are always welcome in my classroom. If you want to set up a time, feel free to email me. My email is on your paper, that blue paper that I got you, your invitation. Or if you just want to stop by, just stop by. We really, really want to see you in our buildings because God, you're making decisions for us as teachers, as employees, but you're also making decisions for our students and our families, and they need to see you. We would like to see you. So please come. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Well, 11 seconds. Very good.
Thanks.
All right. Gina? Gina's next.
Nervous about this part. Hello, my name is Gina Orfino. I am a first-year fourth grade teacher at Pleasant Acres Elementary School. And I have heard from you guys that you're just kind of looking to get a lot of perspectives on this matter. So I'm here to share mine, but I do want to start with a quote that I received from a parent that I think is worth sharing. So this parent said, quote, "When I went through this district as a student, I struggled in school. We moved around a lot and I moved schools a lot. And I struggled at each and every one. Pleasant Acres was the one that set me on the right path." End quote. This was a quote that was shared with me after meeting with the parent regarding their students' positive academic and social emotional growth. And I've thought about this quote a lot when thinking about this discussion, especially when thinking about equity and how this transition might affect our students socially and academically. Equity recognizes that every student has unique needs and deserves to have those needs met. And reflecting on that parent's experience, I think about how their needs were met specifically at Pleasant Acres. And similarly, I've heard from other parents who worry about how transitioning schools could disrupt the support that their children are currently receiving at their school. A lot of my colleagues have already spoken about how this transition might affect relationship building, and I really don't think I could do a better job than they already have. But I do think it's worth mentioning that I was able to form a relationship with this student and her entire family because I had a relationship to their previous teacher. I've read the research on the model of grade level centers, and I do think it's important to now evaluate how relevant this research would be in practice here at RCS. I went to school in Edwardsville, Illinois, which uses a grade level center model, but that town, which is my hometown, has a population that is triple the size of Rantoul. And that meant for me that I had 8 K-2 schools that I could have gone to, but I still went to the school that was in my neighborhood. And I believe that I received a lot of benefits from that because I was receiving instruction that was tailored to my peers and I who shared very similar experiences. Another thing that I urge you guys to consider is how this transition might feel for students who are still developing and trying to make sense of themselves and their circumstances and the world at large. Could bringing these students together with vastly different experiences possibly cause some division amongst students? And you know, I've actually been talking all day long today, and so I think I'm gonna.
Thank you. Emma, let's see if you can top that.
Good evening. Hello.
Evening.
My name is Emma Larson. I'm a first year teacher at Pleasant Acres, born and raised in Rancho, Illinois, and a proud Thunderbird. I want to start by sharing my gratitude and my respect to all of you for your work and this decision that you're making. And just reiterate the fact that this issue will impact all of the students you serve. While you may not be solidifying your decision tonight and how you move forward, I do know that your consideration to all of our village's options are swarming with details and the questions and the push suggestions that you've been receiving. I want to reiterate that it is your decision, and what you decide in the coming time will make an impact regardless. I also want to highlight one of the biggest areas that I think us, the grown-ups, the stakeholders, the decision makers, haven't really gotten to yet: the kids. It's no secret that the change you're considering will make a difference in the academic and emotional, can't stress that enough, emotional well-being of our kids. It's also super unfairly glaring that our students will be expected to change schools every couple of years, just as they're starting to get comfortable with the environment, the expectations, the educators that they're working with. If we're asking for a true learning partnership to take place, and we all set out to do our best, each and every one of us, then we have to embrace the best option for our scholars, which, my humble opinion, is to not uproot and confuse and complicate their learning by shifting to grade level centers. Now, yeah, I have got a lot of strong feelings about this and how our kids will be affected, but I'm not the only one. At the last board meeting I spoke at, my own students soon learned the changes that you'd be making and where you would be leaning towards or what you're considering, and they were physically upset. Mind you, second graders, 8 years old, change is hard. So much so that they decided to write letters to each of you. I will be sharing those later this evening. It's in an email. I also have the pleasure of being a JW Aider cheer coach, and my cheerleaders, who I'm missing their game right now, but they're out there and they voiced their concerns to me and how they couldn't imagine getting to 5th grade and having a completely new school, especially one where they called home since kindergarten. They also stressed how unfair it would be if they didn't get to have the mentor opportunities that they did within their neighborhood schools, working with kindergartners or the younger students and setting examples as a leader. Now, as grown-ups, we can accept that change is hard. Members of the board, I ask you to deeply, deeply consider that this change, is it right? And is it what our kids need?
Next up is it Tanya?
Yes.
Thank you, Tanya.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I apologize. Since the last time I spoke in the last meeting, I've been doing a lot of watching, listening, and talking to both parents, students, other teachers. And I've just been observing, and I think the things that come across is why? Why are we even considering this? Because it seems so against what both the teachers and the parents have asked for or would prefer, and even the students. And as parents, we're supposed to have our children's best interest at heart. And that's what we're supposed to look for. And that's what we expect out of parents, is that our parents are looking at students, their children, and they're picking the right thing for their children. And as teachers, we're supposed to have the best interest of our students at heart. So if we're going against the choices and the preference of both teachers and students, who is looking at, both teachers and parents, who is looking out for the student's best interest? While I know that change has to happen, or that something has to happen, I think 6 transitions between pre-K and junior high is a lot. And the fact that the students will never be able to make connections with adults, long-term ones, until they hit junior high, when they can see their 6th grade, their 7th grade, and their 8th grade teacher 3 years in a row. I think that's sad that they have to wait that long. This week, I've watched the students from 5th grade or 4th grade are having big feelings, and the first thing they do is they go visit 1st grade teachers, their 1st grade teacher, who knows what they need. And their 1st grade teacher can help them with those big feelings. when, if the students are changing every year or every 2 years, if they're lucky, who are they gonna go to? Who is their safe people? Now, we can say that all the teachers and staff in every school is supposed to be safe, but we don't get to pick the safe people for kids. They pick their own safe people. So while I might be safe for 6 different kids and I'm their safe person, 6 other kids, there's a totally different person. And if they don't get to build those relationships and choose those safe people for themselves, what are they gonna be able to do? And how are they gonna be able to grow as people and improve? Or is every year for them just going to be a new start, starting all over and starting all over? And I just think that's a shame. And that's like all I had to say.
Alana?
It's Elena.
Elaine, sorry, Elaine. Sorry. I tried.
It's okay.
Elaine.
It's hard.
Sorry.
Hi. So my name's Elena, and I'd just like to share with you guys some insight based on my experience last year, which was my first year teaching over at Pleasant Acres. I'll start from the beginning. I first joined the district when I was assigned here as a student teacher in my university. And it wasn't long until I quickly fell in love with everything Pleasant Acres and this community had to offer. So I went into my first year of teaching very excited and had high hopes, but did face some very tough challenges. Last year, taking on East Lawn's 5th grade was very hard. I have never before witnessed such division and competition amongst students in any other school that I've been a part of. Along with that, I've also never experienced so many teachers lose their joy in teaching. From this, I am the only 5th grade teacher to have returned to Pleasant Acres this year. And from my own experience, I feel it's because we as a staff had to take on a nearly impossible task, which is to get so many students acclimated to a new environment. RCS has been through grade level centers before, and it has been stated that the biggest challenges that come with that was an increase in student behavioral issues and a decrease in academics. And I can say that the glimpse of what last year showed me, I have a strong urge that that trend is going to continue with this decision. There's also been a lot of data shared publicly from other school districts that have also showed the same outcomes, which I am under the impression that has been shared with you guys as well. Shoot, I wish I had more time just to be able to discuss like all of these circumstances with you, but I do want to say, as I've already told Mr. Woods and Mr. Roundtree yesterday, like, I don't want to make your jobs any harder than it already is. I do know you have a lot on your plates, and this is a very tough circumstance to be in. But I do ask you to please, please, please consider all of our concerns that we're bringing up, because we went through it last year. And truthfully, I don't know if I can go through it again, and I don't know if many other people can go through it again. So, especially the kids. So just leave it at that. Thank you.
Meredith is next.
I want to know when you start telling.
Okay, now you ready?
Okay, okay. Hi, I'm Meredith McKenzie. I'm one of the social workers from East Lawn. I am here because I want to publicly show support for the grade level center options. First, I want to address, I've heard several comments about the East Lawn students going to Pleasant Acres. I am quite frustrated with the sentiment that the East Lawn students were a source of chaos. They were 9 years old, and there was, that's an extreme oversimplification of what went on last year. And it's frustrating to myself and other East Lawn staff members. At East Lawn, we are currently bursting at the seams. I share an office space with 3 other people and a conference room. I'm the social worker, and I'm trying to provide social work services in a shared office space and in the hallway. So are most of our other service providers. Our East Lawn students deserve better. And I don't know how other educators can hear how things are going at East Lawn and think that this is acceptable. I don't know how we can urge you to take more time with this decision. We need help at East Lawn. Something needs to change. And we need to do it. Our students deserve better than what they're currently getting. There's other buildings with empty classrooms. And it's not equitable and it's not fair. In terms of academics, we're performing very low in the state and nationally. We have a lot of students that are in the first percentile in reading and math. The grade level center proposal is gonna offer all of our students more. They're gonna have more services. They will get more special education services and time with special educators. They will have enrichment services for kids that are high performing, which we don't currently have. And there will be equal opportunities for all the kids that live in Rantoul. I know that there's a lot of parents that feel that this is gonna be very inconvenient for them. They might have kids at many different schools. And while that might be true, I'm a mother. And if I knew that my son and daughter were performing in the first percentile, I would drive them to the moon if that's what I needed to do to give them the best education that they could get. I know that there's a lot of frustration with discussion of the budget. But I'm a homeowner and I pay outrageously high property taxes. I think that we can all agree that federal funding is definitely going to decrease. And that's going to come from, the state is going to have to make that up. And that's going to come out of our community's pocket. And I think that it is very, very important for us to consider that. And this option is the best in terms of finances. And I have 4 seconds, so done. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
Well, hello, I've spoke at almost every meeting, so you all should know who I am. I'm Rachel Palmer and I'm a special education teacher at East Lawn. And I've spoken several times now on this issue, so I think you know how I feel. I am 100% in support of grade level centers. Your administration team has done a lot of research on this issue and brought you this proposal to you because they feel this is what's best for kids and staff and financially. Staff want a decision now. We don't want to keep changing things year after year. The other options listed don't have a long-term effect and aren't financially the best decisions. So if you look at everything that's been presented and what's being proposed by our leaders that you've hired, I think you know what you need to do, and grade level centers is the option.
Thank you. Thank you. That ends public comments. That ends public comments. Thank you all for doing this. It's very much appreciated. We do take what you say seriously. Number 4, action consent agenda items. Tyler?
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda items, including personnel report as submitted with the stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedure, including ratification of bills prepaid by the finance manager per board policy 450.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mildred Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Katie Pettit. Harry Wilson,
Aye.
Don Revit.
Aye. Everyone to 5. Any possible changes? We don't have to worry about that. 6. Resolution, Illinois Vision 2030.
All right, board members, whether you know it or not, you are all members of the IASB, the Illinois Association of School Boards. Vision 2030 is a policy document that has been put in place or written by 5 statewide organizations: the Superintendent's Association, the School Board Association, the Principals Association, School Business Officials, and Regional Superintendents of Schools Associations. This was done in 2020 also. It would have been a few years before 2020 when it was approved. But the purpose of Vision 2030 is to set a policy, agenda for all statewide educational organizations, focusing on 4 areas: student and school safety, future-focused learning, shared accountability, and predictable funding. One of the biggest things that came out of the last version of this, which was Vision 2020, was the evidence-based funding formula. That was something set forth in Vision 2020 and has been a major benefit for this school district. So really what you're being asked to do tonight as members of this board is to go ahead and approve the resolution. The goal is that every school district in the state will pass the resolution, which gives it more force when it comes to going into Springfield and trying to work with our legislators on policy changes for the next 10 years. I don't know much more than that about it. So there's a document in there that in your packet that has a lot of detail in it. But that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? I'll make the motion to authorize the item as presented. I get a second.
I said,
Moto second. Thank you.
Moto Johnston.
Aye.
Katie Johnston. Aye. Diana Mendoza. Aye. Vicky Pettit. Aye. Tyler Wilson.
aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. Leads us to number 7, the collective bargaining agreement. All right. With the teachers.
Well, before I go into the details, I want to thank the core negotiation team that was involved with this, with the RCSEA represents all of our certified staff members, which is our largest employee group. So Rachel Palmer, Tara Kaiser, Meredith McKenzie, and Laura Sewell were part of the RCSEA. And on the district side, we had Tom Majors, Allison Didier, Heather Jacobs, Mr. Brotherton, and myself. And so after negotiations, this is just a very short summary for the board. And I know I've provided some more details in this to board members, but I would also add the association took it to their members on January 6th, and they ratified it, but it doesn't become official until the board ratifies it. So both sides have to agree. So a 3-year contract, it would go into effect at the start of, I think it's July 1. The salary increase structure is 5%, followed by 4%, followed by 4%. We clarified when a student with special education services counts towards homeroom class sizes. I'm just highlighting some of the big things we kind of talked through as a group. We updated the retirement incentive for teachers. We moved from 3 years at 6% to 4 years at 5.75%. And we removed other sections in the contract that were related to retirement enhancements that may have been in conflict with some recent court rulings. So it was kind of in everyone's interest to no longer have that in the contract. So I think both sides worked well together. We were happy to get this resolved. And see if you have any questions. I didn't put a motion on the screen. I realize that now, but it's pretty basic motion.
I'll make the motion to ratify this. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tyler.
Moto Johnston.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Katie Johnston. Aye. Diana Mendoza. Aye. Vicky Pettit. Aye. Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
That's like a couple of. Ratifying a contract is a big deal.
Well, we're moving on to number 7, which is discussion of the K-5 school organization. We would like to say something first.
By the way, I had an entire second slide of things we did in the the CBA that are up there now, but my screen's going wild. Not sure what's happening. But yeah, there were several other things along with the motion. So you should have that in the packet, members of the public that are here, so. I am seeing technical difficulties, so let me see if I can. That's okay. It's not, I don't know that it's something you'd be able to fix. Well, we may have to live with it. I'm glad I have hard copies. Everybody has hard copies, folks in the audience. You should also have hard copies. If you want, we had them there at the table. So yeah, I'm gonna just kind of go through some things. Since the last board meeting, I presented information to a lot of different groups. Not just me, but my team. We've done some parent meetings. I know board members also were in attendance at those. We've over the last week, we've had some administrators go out to each elementary school at lunches when we could make it. And so I feel like part of what I'm going to do tonight is answer maybe some of the questions that are coming through to as some of the more common questions. So what challenges are we trying to resolve with this? There's a lot of things that we have to consider, but why are we really doing this? So I highlight 4 areas, and I will go through each one of these 4 areas in a little more detail. But 1, all students should have access to a similar school experience. Planning ahead for future financial challenge, concerns with high student mobility, shifting student demographics. Can I trade mics?
I think that one's still on.
Is it still, you want to turn it off?
Yeah. I think that's, you're getting feedback.
Hello. Okay. Shifting student demographics. Here we go. So what do I mean by all students should have access to a similar school experience? Well, we already in our district have inequities between the different schools. I'm not talking about things being equal. I am talking about things being equitable. So we staff our elementary schools for specials equally. And then we have an inequitable outcome. So that's what I'm showing here in this first example. So for instance, Northview and Pleasant Acres each have 4 specials teachers. But that means it's a ratio of 1 specials teacher to 54 students at Northview compared to 1 special teacher to 73 at Pleasant Acres. A specials teacher, just for clarification, is art, music, PE, technology. Another example would be class size imbalance. So this is the example I have here is English only classrooms at 2nd grade. So right now, Broadmeadow has a class with 22 students and Pleasant Acres has a class with 12. So even though we are staffing both schools with 2 strands of English only teachers, because of how boundaries are and how it's going to fluctuate year to year, we get these imbalances. And I think most teachers would say that a class of 22 students is different than a class of 12. And probably most kids would notice that difference too. Another one would be the disproportionality between our bilingual classrooms and our English only classrooms. So an example is bilingual 1st grade in our district. It's an average of 17.5 students. In our English only 1st grade classrooms, the average is 14 students. And I talked about this a couple meetings ago, but one thing that you should see is the bilingual class size average should actually be lower than the English only class size number. So again, this is what we're trying, when I talk about a similar school experience, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. Planning ahead for future financial challenges. I think I said these same things at the last board meeting, but there's a projected $3.2 billion deficit heading into the next fiscal year from the state. We likely have no additional funds coming from the federal government. And then I think an important thing to note, and I put these graphs up here too to show it, is that we receive 72% of our funding from state and federal sources. Compared to the rest of the state, the rest of the state receives its funding. The federal and state is 36%. So we are we're doubly dependent. That's not really the right way to say it, but on state and federal funding. We do not get a large percentage of our budget from local revenue. So if there's a change at the state or national level to our funding, it's going to impact us more than it would impact many other districts around us. Another area of concern is high student mobility. We are just about double or more than double the state average on student mobility. And student mobility generally means a student is new to a school district in a given year. So that's what the state is looking at. But it's actually a higher percentage when you look at it slightly differently. I simply pulled our current fourth graders. I could have done this probably with any grade level and had relatively similar numbers, but of our current students in fourth grade, only about 40% of them actually started with us in kindergarten. So most kids in our district do not continue in the same school, but there are about 28%, so 1/3 of our students move to a different school in RCS during that time. So they may have been enrolled K through 4, but they've gone to Pleasant Acres, Broadmeadow, Northview, and then back to Pleasant Acres. And we do see that a lot in our district. So part of what some of the options that we're presenting does is it's trying to minimize, it improves mobility, having less mobility by minimizing those in-district transfers. We had I'm aware of a student who transferred this week from one school to another, and the student at the school where they were they're receiving intervention services. Okay, so now they've moved across town, but you have to now transfer all of that level of intervention services too. And so now we have a delay in the intervention services. There's a level of communication that has to happen now between the interventionists, when if we were in one building, that child's move would have had no effect on their education. The other big area is shifting student demographics. So we serve an increasingly large multilingual student population, and we're required to provide specialized services for these students. I shared these pictures last time, but our enrollment is not increasing. This flickering screen is great, but our percentage of our total student population that is multilingual is increasing. So one of the things that's happened over, I'm aware of the last 5 years, is that we have had to increase staffing in bilingual classrooms, but we have not reduced staffing in our English-only classrooms, which is part of what's leading to the imbalance. So I've been asked this 83 times to be exact since the last board meeting. I don't know the exact number, but is the board considering other options? So what happened at the last meeting was my recommendation. And I think it's important to be clear that in previous meetings over the last 2 years, we have talked about a lot of different options. What I see right now as realistic options for next year are these next 4. Okay, this is not a secret. I've been sharing this all week. Okay, so there are 4 options. I'm going to kind of just talk briefly about pros and cons to each one. I'm probably highlighting the cons more on all of them because I think that's what we're going to need to hear. So we could maintain 4 K-5 schools. However, that will also mean we have to make some changes with the existing schools. So East Lawn and Pleasant Acres would no longer be able to maintain 2 strands of English-only classrooms. That doesn't mean we would just cut all of these English-speaking teachers. But in the example I gave earlier, where 2nd grade has a total of, at Pleasant Acres, a total of, say, 23 students, are we able to justify maintaining two separate classrooms when we need another space classroom for other purposes? So those are things that are going to have to start to happen next year if we maintain the current programming. The other would be, and this has caused a lot of concern from people, is we have to staff the schools equitably. So that does not mean we would be eliminating any teachers or eliminating any positions, but what would likely need to happen is, in order to provide more services, and whether that's teaching services or social work or reading interventions, in order to provide more services without increasing costs, is you would have to have staff at Northview and Broadmeadow. Some staff would have to be traveling to East Lawn and Pleasant Acres to provide services so that they have adequate staffing. Another thing we would need to look at and make some decisions on is redrawing school boundaries. And I actually think I have this on all four of the first three options, which would mean somehow we've got to look at shifting some of the enrollment from the Northview Broadmeadow area to the East Lawn Pleasant Acres area. It is not something we can just reboundary. The teachers asked me this question last week at every school. We cannot just, can't just put all of our students into one barrel and scoop them out and put them in different schools, because our students require different services, and our students are very diverse. So there's a lot of other variables we have to look at other than just redistributing the boundaries. It is more complicated than that. But looking at boundaries and options 1, 2, and 3 are things that I think need to be addressed. It's the only way we're going to be able to balance the overall enrollment across 4 K-5 campuses. Split Pleasant option 2. And this is definitely one that was discussed last year, would be split Pleasant Acres and East Lawn for all students. So currently, Pleasant Acres and East Lawn are already partnered schools, but they're only partnered for their bilingual students. So the Pleasant Acres has all of the K-2, East Lawn has all of the 3-5. That has actually not been a big problem in any way, I don't think, for the students or our staff. I think the hard part that is our families have experienced this year is from the perspective of our bilingual families, who are the only families where their students are split up like this across 2 buildings. So one thing to do would be to shift the partnership to include the monolingual students at both schools. And then what you're doing there is you're ensuring that there would be at least 2 strands of monolingual and at least 2 strands of bilingual. And so you wouldn't be risking having a school with we have one right now, the solo teacher at 1 grade level with 25 kids. So we would be able to do that. That would be the benefit. It does also reduce that there is efficiency in doing that between those 2 schools only, though. Again, we'd want to look at how are there places out of the current Pleasant Acres East Lawn boundaries that could be shifted into the Northview Broadmeadow attendance area. The third option is to do partner schools. So the option just before this, we partnered Pleasant Acres and East Lawn. And then I think where we can gain a lot more efficiency even to address some of the many other things that we've been talking about is to partner Broadmeadow and Northview also. Northview would be K-2 monolingual and Broadmeadow would be 3-5 monolingual. Pleasant Acres and East Lawn would have that same pattern, but they would also have the bilingual program. Isn't this what we did 20 years ago? In a way, yes. However, they were different shared schools. I believe, I'm going to get it right, Broadmeadow and Pleasant Acres were paired and Northview and East Lawn were paired. We were also operating our own transportation. which I think in the year after we stopped doing the grade level schools is when we shifted to private transportation. And I do think that may have had an impact on why there were transportation issues the first time this happened 20 years ago. Option 4 is the grade level schools. I don't know that I need to review that one because that was the whole meeting last time. So those are 4, I think, that are reasonable options. The one I would caution us on, because I don't see a long-term, it's not a longer-term solution, would be option 1. That buys us a year, right? And I think we would still have to be considering a bigger change, but it would allow a year of whatever we might need to get done in that year. All right, so, okay, next, kind of shifting topics, grade level schools. How would transportation work? I have a lot more answers on this. I'm not going to do all of the scenarios, but I want to kind of go through, why don't I do 3 of them? And then people will probably start to nap. So you can read through them. They're all pretty much the same. So when you look at the map in front of me, there's a dot down here in Gulfview. And I randomly picked the house 887 St. Andrews. So that's about where that family lives. It's a made up family. I didn't actually look up a real family for this. So kindergarten, 1st grade, and 5th grade. So in the grade level schools model, this family currently, they already are bused from their neighborhood, all 3 kids to Northview. Okay. So the transportation model that we're proposing is, or that I'm exploring for grade level schools, is that this family would actually go to their bus stop, which in this case, the simplest bus stop is Pleasant Acres. It is 0.6 miles away. So if Pleasant Acres really was a 100% neighborhood school, these kids would already be at Pleasant Acres. Northview is 2 miles away. So what the solution would be from a transportation point of view is the family is getting their children to the bus stop, which in this hypothetical, the bus stop is Pleasant Acres. It's, as I said, 0.6 miles. From there, it becomes our responsibility to get the kids to school. So the kindergartner is already at school. Okay, so now there would be a bus that would get the 1st grader to East Lawn and a bus that would get the 5th grader to Broadmeadow. We would be using a shuttle system. What's an interesting discovery of this is doing this model actually reduces the amount of time most kids are on a bus on average from what they currently are. So right now our bus routes are longer than what they would be under this model. So that's just one family. I'm going to pick an in-between family. Okay, so this family on scenario 2, they live about the same, right about the same distance between East Lawn and Pleasant Acres. Excuse me, East Lawn and Northview. Northview is currently their neighborhood school. All of their kids, K1 and 4, go to Northview. Northview is the closest school, but East Lawn is actually not that far away either. Okay, so, but we've got to get children. I'm a parent. I need to get children. This is one of the big things I definitely hear from families is, how am I going to get 3 kids to school, to 3 different schools? Well, from a parent perspective, your responsibility is to get all of your kids to one school. So most likely what would happen is one of these 2. So I'll use possible solution 2 is all 3 kids get to Northview. So the parent either drops the kids off at Northview or the parent or the kids walk to Northview. They're still walking with their siblings. The 1st grader is already at school. And now the shuttle system would get the kindergartner to East Lawn or I'm messing them up, aren't I? Get the first grader to East Lawn, kindergartner to Pleasant Acres, and the fourth grader is the one who's already at school. Now, as a parent, I might say I'd rather get my first grader, the younger kid, to school instead of my fourth grader, right? So you might go to East Lawn instead, and then the shuttle would work the same way. Okay, so there's 6 total scenarios in there like that, where, I'm just trying to kind of play out what it would look like for different families. And then I'm going to jump ahead to what would costs be under grade level schools. And then, so I'm jumping ahead to the slide that says current general education busing. Okay, so in grades K through 5, right now we are transporting 250 students on general education bus routes. That is not at all of our busing. So we have 6 routes for K-5 kids for 250 kids. We have an additional 5 routes that run door-to-door transportation for special education students. That's separate. Okay, those kids are already bused. Those students will continue to be bused. We run, I'm going to mess up the number. I think we're running 4 pre-K routes. And they do their routes twice a day because there's a morning session and an afternoon session. We also have Rise Academy route. We have out of district routes for students who are in private placements. But the bulk of our routes are going to be, this is the largest group. It's the 6 bus routes for K-5 Gen Ed. What also happens, if it isn't really that relevant, but I thought the board might want to know, is those same 6 bus routes turn around and then run the junior high routes. So it's 6 buses that are running the K-5 program. When they unload all the K-5 kids, then they go back and run the JW8 routes. To give you an idea of our current costs, it's $389.13 per day for a bus route. And we run each bus route 169 days, unless we have a snow day. And that comes out to $408,000 is what we're spending right now on general education busing. We're spending well over $1 million right now on transportation altogether, but remember, what we're really talking about in these models is going to affect the general education busing. So there are 3 scenarios that I had first student do. And I will just lead with, they are expensive scenarios. So I'm going to talk that through with you. One would be to route all students who are beyond 1.5 miles from their assigned school. And if they have a sibling in K-5 at another school, the sibling would be on the same bus, same stop, same time. Okay, so that's one. And they're not vastly different options 1 and 2, and they do basically cost the same. So number 2 is using more of a shuttle system where schools are the primary bus stops. It was really kind of surprising to me when the maps they gave me, the most kids in our district live within 1.5 miles of a school. The only kids who really live beyond 1.5 miles of any school are South Point, forget now, west of the interstate. That's very few students that we have west of the interstate. And South Point, those were really the only, and when I say South Point, I basically mean housing in the base that's south, not just, but that excludes Gulfview, because almost every kid in Gulfview is within 1.5 miles of Pleasant Acres. So the third option would be just route kids who live beyond 1.5 miles of an assigned school, ignore sibling status. I don't think that's the route that the board is going to want to go, because that is going to mean parents would have potentially have drop-offs at multiple schools. And what do I mean by that? In this scenario, this family in scenario 2 up here, if we used that last busing option, This parent would have to get, let me do if I do it right. They live here, they would have to get their child to East Lawn. And then their students would be bused to, or one would be bused to Broad Meadow, one would be bused to Pleasant Acres. Pros and cons to that, but I think the concern would be is that the parent going to have a bus stop and going to have to get that first grader delivered to school? So that's what scenario 3 does. It is cheaper. Okay, so here's costs on them. Interestingly, we would go from, on that first scenario, we would go from busing 250 students to 650 students. That means the majority of our K-5 students would now qualify for busing. It would take us from 6 buses to 12. It would be a net increased cost of $408,000. But the thing I need to make sure you know is if we will pay for a student $408,000, but after we are reimbursed from the state, the estimate is we would actually be spending only an additional, when I say only, I mean, it's a lot of money, but we would be spending somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 more to add those 6 bus routes. So while it does say $408,000, I just want to make sure you know that we will get reimbursed at least 50% of that. That's the 204,000 number. And then the highest range I used was a 62% reimbursement, which is what we got last year. Now, one thing I want to make sure I say is on scenarios 1, 2, and 3, we haven't asked First Student to map it out for us yet. But Darcy, who I think you all know, she does a lot of things for us, but she does a lot of our buses for us. She does think we would need to add a special education route. Arguably, I'm looking at Allison right now. I don't expect you to say anything, but arguably we need to do that. We could do that this year because our busing has been pretty tight. So we may be adding a special ed route one way or another. So the addition of one special ed route, and again, I want to clarify, it might be something we do whether we change, even if nothing happens, because we think we may need to do that for efficiency of getting kids to school on time. But a special education route does cost more because it does require a monitor. And then that shows you the total cost. One special ed route's about $100,000. And then that shows you what our reimbursement would be. The reimbursement for special education has been coming back lower than for general education. Scenario 2, 630 students would be eligible for busing. Again, it's the same exact costs as the last slide because it's 6 more routes. The interesting thing about shuttles is that we noticed is it's a lot more efficient in terms of time children are on a bus. I do think that if we looked at staggering start and end times for the elementary schools, that we would potentially be able to reduce the number of buses in this system. We just haven't. So this is I guess kind of giving you the maximum cost. It could go down with some efficiencies if we flexed around the start and end times of the schools. Because right now this is assuming all kids in K-5 dropped off at school at the same time on these scenarios. Scenario 3, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say would be the least popular, is we would be going up to busing 450 students. It would only cost 10 buses increase, so there is a significant cost savings to doing that. Okay, so I've talked about why we are looking at doing this. 4 realistic options for the board to consider. I've talked about what transportation would look like in the most complicated option, okay, which is in terms of transportation, and that is the grade level schools model. If you were to look at splitting schools, and doing the K2, 3, 5 models, transportation it's going to be less in transportation costs than what you're seeing here because we would have fewer routes. So next steps, and then it's my job to be quiet and let the board talk and answer questions if you have them. But I was kind of thinking, what are the next steps for me and for the board? And a suggestion I have, and you can direct me to how you want me to do it. I need to continue to work through the cost feasibility of transportation for option 4. And that it's going to require me and Chris Johnson, the business manager, to look at, is that a realistic amount for us? Another thing for me to do, and I've already asked for students to start working on this when I met with them Tuesday, was to identify, do the same thing they did for grade level schools for transportation costs, but do that for options 2 and 3. So I've given them those parameters, and they are working on that. So we know, is it a difference of, is it going to be a difference of 75% or a difference of 10%? I don't know. I'm going to bet it's a difference of about 50%. In some conversations I've had with individual board members, I've been asked if I would be able to do some additional survey for families, additional survey for staff. Those are other things that I can do. I think we're at a point where it's a much more straightforward survey of, these are options the board is considering, which ones do you like? I think is more straightforward on that. So that is all I have for my presentation.
Woods. Thank you, Dr. Woods. Now it's our turn. We'll all speak and say what we can say. So, would anybody like to begin? Alan?
Dr. Woods, with the current model that we are in, is special education in every building and bilingual in every building? I know the answer, but just so everybody knows the answer.
So yeah, special education is in every building. We're only providing bilingual services right now at East Lawn and Pleasant Acres. But we do have multilingual students who receive English as a second language at Broadmeadow and North.
With the option of grade level centers, will special ed continue to be in each building, and will bilingual then move to every building?
Yes.
Thank you, Tyler. Diane? Nothing? Moto?
Yeah, I do. I have question on busing, actually, transportation. I actually have a person that I know that actually works for First Student. And unless he was mistaken, us going from 6 to 12, gonna triple our cost of what we're paying now. And the other problem, and it's really not even about the cost, because I know that other people negotiates the cost. This person doesn't. There's not enough bus drivers. They don't have enough bus drivers. We're having problems now with the bus drivers that we had. He said there's no way in our district or the district, even in the district I work in Champaign, there's no way they can get the bus drivers, first of all. So that's still going to be a problem. Transportation is going to be a problem continuously, is all I'm saying. And that's not including the actual cost that it's really going to cost us. And I know you said it's going to take, the state pays us back, what, 62%, which takes us down to what, 150, 160,000. If federal and state are going to start taking back money or not giving money, we're losing there too anyways, right off the bat. Taxes. I know some of the people, I don't know how many of you guys live in Rantoul or care, because your taxes aren't gonna go up anyways. But that ain't the point. The people that do live here, we do care. And as of students, one of the questions, And some of these questions and some of the things I'm bringing to your attention is coming from other people, not just me. Do you know how many, multi, parents we have out there that has more than 2 or 3 kids that are gonna have to drive their kids to 2 or 3 different schools in each school? Do you know, for example, like Northview? I mean, does anybody know? I didn't know if you did, Dr. Woods. For example.
I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but we did pull the data on families and the number of siblings in grades K through 5. So because we've been doing that with the transportation modeling.
How many do we have on that by chance? I got a number. I just want to know what your number
Okay.
is.
No, I don't want to give you the wrong numbers. That's something I have to look up and get back to you.
Well, I mean, even if the number's close, I mean, I got them actually just for 2 schools, not for 4. I did a little homework on that. I have also got the number of sped kids we have in these schools too. And the reason I did some of this was to help these parents out to understand why we're doing this. I know we have teachers that came up here and we have certain people that came up here that are 100% in favor of Grade Center. And I don't discredit that at all. I'm not saying that Grade Center is a bad thing or a good thing. But my goal as a board member is to make sure we do what I feel needs to be done, not only for the parents, but for the students and for the teachers as well. I think we'll hurt ourselves more with the grade centers now. I'm not saying in the future, I'm saying right now. But these are just some of the things that I'm coming up with. I got a ton of things that I have on here, but there's no reason bringing it up now because some of it was already said, some of it we've already talked about. And I think everybody's tired. We're tired. The board's tired. You know, we got people coming up here and telling us to make a decision. We want to make a decision. You think we want to come up here every month and sit there for the last 1.5 2 years, talking about the same old thing? We don't. At least I don't. We want what's best for our community. We want what's best for the students. We want what's best for these teachers. And we at least I don't, dang sure don't want to lose good teachers. We got people that's been here a long time, and we got people that's just started, that has shown that they will leave. But do we care? Grade level, I hear the gentleman say, or somebody had said, we won't lose teachers. Yes, we will. Is that going to eliminate jobs? Yes, it will. Let's be truthful up front. That's what these teachers want to know. That's what the people want to know. Do we have a job next year? Do we not have a job next year? Are we going to be moving from school to school? These are the questions these teachers want to know. If Dr. Woods and administrators already know the answer to this, then tell these teachers. Tell them the truth. That's it.
I do know that the concern about the number of bus drivers and being able to staff, which is something that I do have to discuss with first student management. You were asking me, you wanted to know a breakdown of bilingual families with kids that would be in multiple schools?
I really don't, I have enough numbers.
Okay.
For example, depending on who I'm talking to, sometimes when I'm talking to someone, they make comments of saying, well, we don't have that many. We don't have that many parents, and we don't have that many people that have to worry about, because they don't have multi-kids. They don't have 2 kids or 3 kids in the school. That's not true. So that's the reason I went and investigated. How many do we have? If we don't have that many, why are we fighting this? But that's not true. And I can give you the numbers of 2 schools And there's a lot of people. This is affecting a lot of families. I'm just letting you know that.
Can you give us the numbers that you have?
I won't. Just like Dr. Woods, I'm not sure. I didn't get them. I got them from somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I do have that data because Darcy and I pulled it in our work with First Student. I just don't have the exact numbers. Yeah, I mean, so I would be guessing at that point. As far as whether someone will have a job, I've been very clear that none of these proposals eliminate staffing. I cannot give staff members an exact answer as to what their job assignment would be next year until I know what direction we're going. So I can't, right, I don't know the answer. So when I don't give the answer, it's because I don't know the answer, not that I'm withholding information.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Katie?
Okay, my thoughts are disjointed, bear with me. Okay, so as I see it, I'm still interested in pursuing option 4. Option 1 is not long-term. I think that one thing that we've been, that sounds really strong, but we've made piecemeal decisions before. We've made decisions that were not as long-term as we'd like, and it does feel like sometimes we just keep going back to the same thing. And this keeps coming up as an option, and there is the possibility that it keeps coming up as an option because it's the best option. I think that it's sometimes really hard, like all of us are in the community, we care deeply about the community, we care deeply about our teachers, our students, like our kids. It's just to the point where I think that in some ways we have to make the hard decisions. Someone asked why. Why would we do this if people are not seemingly immediately in favor of it? And I think the answer, at least from my perspective, is to be proactive. I would rather us try something different that will work or that could work, as opposed to just letting us continue to slide down in test scores, continue to slide down and have teachers be really angry and disenfranchised for us to have the same conversation over and over and over again. So I think that we just need to also be real about like our community and what the needs are. I think there are a lot of different students, a lot of different backgrounds, like not my situation as a person who has children in this district. It's not the same situation as everyone else in this district. And from what I see and hear and read and, am aware of, I think that this gives us a chance to be more equitable and fair to all of our students and try to improve those educational outcomes. That is ultimately what it's about, is educational outcomes and doing what is right for the students in this district. And I mean, I have children in this district. I have children for whom if my child did not have the relationship that he has with his teacher, he would not be as successful. I'm aware, of how important those connections are. But at the same time, up here, I don't have the luxury of just thinking of my child with our background and what's going on with my child. I have to think about the wide range of backgrounds in this community and try to make the decision that is best for all of them. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got a little passionate there.
That's fine. Great, thank you.
I'm going to be speaking in draft. I've learned that term in my DEI conference that I've been attending all week at the U of I. You do it, it's great. It's not that I am afraid to make a decision. However, when I say that, I don't think that people hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to say, I am in favor of the grade level centers because, in my opinion, I think that is what is best for the kids. I know that there would be difficulties that would arise. There would be some problems, everything that we have to work through. It would not be a smooth transition, but there are positives and negatives for both. You can make a case for it. You can make a case against it. but in my opinion, it is the best for the kids. What I do not agree with is doing a rush job. I think that that is what we are known for, and I think that's why we fail. What I don't want to see is for us to go through all of this only to see something fail and have it change in 3 to 5 years. I am tired of it. I would like to have an informed decision. I would like the stakeholders, the teachers to be more involved. It is my opinion that I would like to know what's going to happen, but I don't want to begin it at the beginning of next year because, again, rush job. It's January. We don't even know what choice we're going to make. But yet we want to make changes at the beginning of next year. To me, that's way too soon, and all we're doing is setting ourselves up to fail. I'm not saying I don't want you guys to know. I do want to make a decision on what's going to happen. I just don't want it to be the beginning of next year. Because I think you guys need to be involved and parents need to be involved because perhaps the great administrative team that we have isn't thinking of everything. And I think that if there were, and I said this last time, if there were different committees, thank you, to help organize this, the outcome would be better. I think that's all I really have to say. But again, I realize it's all just my opinion. So there you go.
Thank you, Nikki. Ms. Mendoza.
I mean, I agree.
Sure.
So I agree with both Nikki and Katie, and I go for option 4 also. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen many staff come up here and explain and talk about the whys and the why nots and pour their hearts out. And that means a lot. Like having staff members like you guys teach our children, it's amazing. And, but also, and I understand what Nikki's saying and what Katie's saying. At the end of the day, it's what's best for our children. I do not have a student at RCS, but I know many of your children that go to RCS because I worked here for a very long time. And I've grown to, care for these kids and seeing them grow up as they move older and they move, and I know that there are some tasks like the transportation, we have to tackle that. And we have to know we have to make sure that what we're doing, is it, but also I say this with the utmost respect is we also, in my opinion, trust our admin. So what they're doing, because we have them and, we have them up here, they're there for one reason and we're looking, I have conversations with them, I ask them questions and they're always, willing and able. So, in my opinion, do we have to, work on some things? Yes, but also being like flimsy, like we're gonna do this, we're not gonna do this, also puts you as staff members in a chaotic mode because you want to know. And in my opinion is option 4.
Well, I am a board member with a student in this district. I'm gonna start from, actually, I had 3. I have 1 now. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't have to worry about that part of it, the part that we're going over now. But I will tell you this. If it wasn't for at least one, I'll go with one of my children being able to stay with the teacher or teachers or the school that he was in, he would fail. He would fall between the cracks. Listening to some of us talk, and everybody has a right to their own opinion. Mark my word, when I ran for school board almost 4 years ago, the first thing was to get our academic grade level at a higher level for the state and national level. That hasn't happened. But if it wasn't for my son having certain teachers and certain people that he trusts and can depend on, he would have failed. So if that one boy is not important enough to wait a few minutes, then to me, we fail. We fail as a board, we fail as a superintendent, we fail as administrators, and we fail as teachers. Your job is to do the best for, like Katie said, all the kids. We don't leave none behind. I was at an IEP meeting this morning. The advocate that I had for my son, very, very helpful. I love her to death. That group of people that was in that meeting, every one of them had different ways and different things that has made my son succeed so far this year. I can't ask for nothing better. I'm not trying to say that any of the teachers, any of you guys are doing a bad job, a good job, or whatever. I'm sure you're doing a good job, but I do know that all of you want the same thing. Nikki said it too. Honestly, we all want the same thing. And it's going to be hard for all of us to get what we all want. But in my opinion, like I said, I'm not saying one way or another if I agree or disagree with grade centers. I just think right now it's not a good fit for the school because of what we will lose. We have too many teachers and too many kids that need us and need the right decision to be made. And it's nothing against anybody. But I'm just saying one child to me is it's just as important as the whole group. And if you guys don't feel that way, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that when I say that I don't want it to begin in this fall, that doesn't mean that I want to wait 5 years. I would like it to start the next year. I just don't think that we have our ducks in order to start. I think it's going to be too chaotic in order to start it this year. We don't have enough information and we're starting to in order to do it effectively. But again, my opinion doesn't really mean squat.
Well, I would counter that. Your opinion doesn't matter. Anybody else? Tyler? Nothing to say? Katie? Nikki?
I could say a lot more, but it's not gonna, it doesn't.
Katie?
I think one other thing that, in thinking about this and, implementation is maybe there's a compromise option between starting in the fall for sure and starting next fall for sure. Maybe there's a way for us to set a date for which we have our ducks in a row. And if we don't have our ducks in a row by that date, wait. And I don't know, it's just.
Well,
I'm just having children and being like, hey, let's compromise. Compromise is good.
I'm just thinking that, I feel like I talk loud enough. I'm just thinking that last year,
when we had to vote on what was happening this year. We did it so late, and as you heard, it was a cluster. So I don't want to have a cluster. I'm tired of it. We have been talking about this since I was elected to this board. I'm tired of it. I would like to make a decision that will stick. Again, I want this for the betterment of everyone. I know that that doesn't mean that I'm going to make everyone happy, but I want it for the betterment of everyone. I am for equality and inclusion and diversity. I want equity for everyone, and we're not getting it how it's set up right now. We are failing our students, our teachers, therefore our community. Something has got to change, but it's not going to change. No, it will change. I just don't want it to be rushed because I want to have something sustainable. I want to be proud of, I am proud of Rantoul. I want Rantoul to be proud of Rantoul because it doesn't sound like we are. People wanted, according to that, one of the first gentleman that spoke wants to try to get rid of us, get rid of Dr. Woods. I understand and I have an elected position. And so what I'm saying may not be popular for the people that are listening, and they may not want me back. That's fine, but it's not gonna stop me from talking. I'm still gonna advocate for all the people that I try to advocate for, which is, so you're still gonna see me talking, may not be up here, but you're still gonna see me talking, because I'm still going to fight for the teachers and the parents and the students. I think maybe now I'm done.
It's okay. You must speak. Speak. Anybody else?
I don't know, with my thought of compromise, one other thing is, I will say, I know that this is gonna be controversial. We are a little ahead of where we were last year. I think we voted in March. And if all goes according to plan, hopefully it would be February, and we'd also still have a month of like background time up until the point of a vote. So I don't know, it's just.
Katie, I'm going to scare you now.
Oh gosh.
The vote to move to what happened with the bilingual program, option 7, what it was called last year, that happened on February 20th.
Okay.
Our next board meeting is February 20th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying that to make a point. I was just looking at the
I couldn't
previous
remember.
board meetings.
I think you
Somewhere in
did.
there.
We had a special board meeting on the 15th. The regular meeting was the 15th, and then there was a special meeting the following Tuesday.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Dr. Woods, current model that we are sitting in as of this minute. And I know I asked this last month, but I want to out there again. Current model will work next year. Correct or incorrect?
Correct, but there would have to be some changes, but yes. Then I think I want to highlight them one more time. We'd be looking at consolidating, reducing the number of English-only classrooms where we would need to, not everywhere. And I will be coming back to the board if that was the case to make some shifts of total population. So we add some enrollment into Broadmeadow and Northview.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I guess it's my turn. I don't think this is going to be a surprise when I say I advocated for, ever since we started talking about things like this, that I want to do the very best that we can for the students with the least amount of disruption. I personally feel that we can do one of the options real well this fall. And that would be the sister school program. I would prefer us not to have to do this, but I would not be doing my job if I did not look at this stuff realistically. The information's been given to us by administration that we do have to do some changing, some major changing to get the results that we want to get. So to me, I think if we go with option 3, that we could, with more information given to us by February's meeting, that we could make a decision in February. And maybe if that is voted in, which I don't know, that we could start that this fall. I've tried to listen to everybody's opinion, everybody's. But you're still taking what I think are the possibilities. And the one thing I can speak about for myself is that I have experience. I'm not smarter than anybody else. God knows I'm not smart. But I have seen how things have worked for many, many years. And I just think if we are going to make a change, that option 3 is the best way to go. However, I am one board member. And what I would like to propose right now is that on our February board meeting, we decide what we're going to do. That will be the cut bait day, that we're going to make a decision, whatever it is. If we want to keep it the way it is and, do the modifications, if the majority gets that, that's what we'll do. If we want to go with number 4, then we'll do that. But I think that it's only fair that people know as soon as we possibly can do this, what's going to happen. That's for the teachers, for the students, for the parents. I think they deserve to have an answer, and I want to give them an answer. So I'm hoping that on February, we can come to consensus what we're going to do. Does that sound fair? Please let me know. I mean, I'm talking from experience. Certainly not talking from being smarter than anybody else.
I think our board's split. I think some of us like grade level centers. Some of us want to start grade level centers next fall. Some of us like grade level centers, but we don't want to start until 2026. Some of us don't like grade level centers. I think we're all across the board, which again, just cluster.
Well, and the decision may have to be that we'll go with one for a year. But I feel, again, this is me speaking, that we need to make a decision what we're going to do. Or I don't want to punt the ball for a year. Okay, that's fine.
We can't even make a decision until we have a definite thing about the transportation.
No,
Again, I
that's-
don't mind making a decision. I can make a decision. My mind's already made up. But we are split. What are we gonna vote on? Are we gonna vote on which proposal we want, which option we want, or are we gonna vote if it's going to start this fall or not? What are we gonna vote on?
Well, I talked to Dr. Woods and he assured me by February, you'd have what for us?
Answers?
Transportation.
Yeah. I'm wondering though, because this is not a secret, the board knows that Nikki and John and I meet and we prep the agenda. One of the options we talked about is that the next meeting would be 2 parts, remember? One would be deciding which option is preferred by the board and then deciding when.
So we're gonna have 2 different votes.
Well, I don't know how it would work as far as, I don't know for sure procedurally how it would work.
And it also.
That's what we were, remember that, I mean,
I would also like to bring up a point of order. You cannot propose during an action or a discussion item. It would have to be brought up during new business.
we've been waiting 3 years.
Yes.
No, I mean, and it could be one vote, right? So it's a matter of having different motions prepared. So on our agenda, your agenda would be that it's an action item, but different motions would be prepared And I would have to check with the rules of order to see how we would do it. Like,
That's good.
would it be? We're still just discussing this item right now, right?
I tease.
It could, yeah, right. Would it, I don't know if it would have to be listed on the board agenda as two separate action items. So I mean, there's two questions that I'm hearing, which is what, that's one question, and when is another question. So I would need to check how that would be work procedurally. And we would have to get some of that ironed out through email, probably prior to the next meeting. But you have, I mean, I could see theoretically, we'd have 10 different options, 10 different motions pre-written, and then it's a matter of which motion the board can come to consensus on.
Didn't you have something, I could have sworn I read it somewhere, but I don't know, I can't find it. That said something going out to the teachers.
Survey, yeah.
Yeah,
I was just suggesting that was another piece of data I could collect, right? Was that we could do some.
I would like that. I don't feel like, sorry, I don't feel like they had any say-so in what they would prefer. So again, yes, I think that admin did a wonderful job, but I think that it could have been done better. I think that more stakeholders needed to come to the table. You guys made a lot of different decisions and talked about a lot of different scenarios, which is great, but it's not having the people that are in the trenches. I don't even know if that's right. I mess up sayings all the time. The people that are doing the work come and say, well, what about this? What about ping pong ideas? Which is, to me, I've always learned that is what is needed before a major change like this happens. And we didn't have that. And that's disappointing to me because again, we had a great opportunity to have everyone involved, the community, parents, teachers. And now everyone's like, let's hurry up, do it, let's hurry up, do it, let's hurry up and do it. I don't know if we can go backwards and get opinions on, hey, we can improve it this way. Did you think about this? Hey, did you try doing it this way? I don't know, but that's what I think is needed. Said that before, so.
Dr. Wood, let's just go back to what we kind of posed. Can we have that done by February? Can we do more with parents and in way we as a board can help? I mean, if it takes, meeting every night, I can arrange my schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we
Building again.
Yeah.
Evening for parents to come in. Is that a possibility?
And I don't mean an informational thing. I mean where you can ping pong ideas, like
That's what we could do. Have them come in, and that's what we'll do. Leave it up to them. They want to talk.
Yeah, I think it's, one is continuing to get more information about transportation. And yes, what we talked about previously was getting opportunities for more feedback. Surveys that could be more, events. We did 3 events. The event here at One Aviation, we had, I think, 10 families represented. The Zoom in English was very well attended. A lot of our staff were in attendance. And then the Zoom in Spanish, I only had 2 folks log in and they were staff. So we actually didn't hold that one. And we talked about rescheduling and doing something in person for our bilingual families. So, but yeah, I mean, yes. So you asked me, can we get more feedback, get more information? Yes. And ping pong.
yeah, they need to be able to say.
Opinions valuable. Also.
So
Opinions are.
I had on my slide deck, which is not up there right now, but, possible next steps, I said, were, continuing to work through feasibility of transportation for options 2, 3, and 4. We really only looked at option 4. Survey to family, survey to staff, and I'm hearing also scheduling some other, opportunities for family interaction, family engagement. I'm gonna say I know it's gotta be a little of both. I think you and I talked about this privately. Now I'm telling everybody. But, some at the neighborhood schools, but also some, virtually because it's about being able to meet families and community members where they are. Yeah, and the staff knows this. I was planning to do a Zoom just for staff, do that webinar. But we didn't end up doing it this week. And because once this was scheduled as a discussion, I thought we should wait a week and we can try to do it. Well, now before February 12th. So are those our next steps?
I definitely want more on the transportation. Money makes the world go round.
Me too.
And as much as some people don't like to hear it, government is a business. This is a business. Kids are our business, but money makes it go round. Money makes you guys have jobs, the ones that are teachers out here, assistants. Money is a lot of things. So I would like a good breakdown. That is why Nikki and I believe, are on the same page. Nikki and I have had a conversation about this. That we don't want it to be rushed, as she said, just because we want an answer. Don't get me wrong. We want to give the 30 people that are watching on the internet right now and the 30 people that are out here and everybody else and all that. We want to give you an answer. We just don't want to say, okay, here's the answer and we're going to do it tomorrow. Good luck. So please get us some more numbers on the transportation.
I would add, board members, if there is other data you want. So I did make a note about getting you the information, the hard numbers on families with multiple kids. Now I figured it out. But if there's other data you want in order to inform your decision, the earlier you can get those questions to me and my team, the better. And then I would share that back with the whole board. Okay.
Since Mr. Brotherton brought up option 3, can I just ask a couple of clarifying questions just so I have all the information? So because it's splitting up the way it is, to me, it doesn't necessarily seem like it helps with the goal that we've kind of expressed, that we want to move to that dual language model. Would it be a possibility we could go to Pleasant Acres or Eastland for it? Okay.
Yes, not everyone saw my head nod.
Perfect, okay. Would it be a long-term solution or another piecemeal solution? That's the most
Option
important.
3, I believe, would be a long-term solution.
Even with the dual language,
Mhm.
because what if more families would like to be involved in that, but because of spacing, because we're only doing that at 2 different schools, they're not able to.
So,
Whereas if we had grade level centers, it would be available, perhaps, I don't know, but I'm just saying across the board.
no, it would position us, option 2, 3, or 4 would position us to be able to start. They're talking about true dual language where English speaking students can also be in the bilingual classroom. Yes, I think 2, 3, and 4 would position us to do that. What would happen so what happens typically in a dual language model is your English speaking kids, transportation becomes more of an issue because somehow we have to get those kids to whatever school has it. I don't think that's a significant issue. Some districts have said to the English speaking families if you want your child in dual language, and you have to get your child there. And that kind of goes with it. I know that's how Champaign and Urbana both do it. So that would be something for a future discussion. I wouldn't get held up on transportation of that slice. But yeah, I mean, it would really be looking at just option 3 is English-speaking kids at Northview and Broadmeadow, if they wanted to be in a dual language program that would only be at PA and East Lawn, we would have to make a decision on, would we be busing those kids or would we put the burden of transportation on to the family? And it's going to matter too where they live, right? Because right now, a pretty good chunk of kids at Northview are already would be walkers to Pleasant Acres or East Lawn as it is.
And I think one of my big concerns with this particular one is last year, we asked our bilingual families to trust us, that we weren't planning to do things that, you know, in some ways could make them feel further disenfranchised. And I am concerned under 3 that it's going to seem like we are just, again, adding to some of the stress and strain on PA and East Lawn. And the optics is not necessarily what I mean. It's really about feelings. Like, I don't want to go back on what I said, which is that I really do deeply care about those families and making things seem more just to them, you know, like make it seem just better. So I'm concerned about that piece of it.
I just have one thing. Sorry again. I wanted all of you guys, all the teachers and community members out there to know that at least I'm sure the rest of the board appreciates you coming out and expressing your feelings. I know sometimes, especially if you're a staff member for the district, some of you don't want to get up and prefer not to say anything. But the administrators, I'm sure Dr. Woods and a ton of you teachers have done tremendous amount of work trying to figure this out. I know that Nikki had said that we need a lot more information. But from what I got out of it, it seemed like majority of at least the people that came here and spoke in front of the board has showed that they would prefer not. I'm not saying that that's where we're going. I'm just saying that they prefer not. But at the same time, the ones that did come in and showed their expression of wanting it, I take my hats off to all of you because you're giving us your ideas. You're giving us your opinions. And that's what we need. We need your opinions. One thing that kind of touched me, especially listening to some of the teachers and community people, we do have room. And why are we having teachers and sped people in one class? I feel bad for the people that's East Lawn if that's what's happening to them. I mean, we have to fix that. We have to at least fix the things that we can fix. You know, it's not that, and I believe the board feels the same way. We're not trying not to do nothing. We're just trying to do the right thing for everybody. So please, like Nikki said, Mr. Brotherton said, excuse me, Ms. Pettit said, we do need the information because if we don't get the information, we can't make a good decision as a board, one way or another. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for the hard work. Thank you guys all for the hard work. Like Nikki said, we're split up here. And we're not only split up here because we're trying to be at each other's throats or just want to disagree with each other. We're hearing different things from different people, and we're looking at things differently, but Nikki might be doing something that I don't know. Excuse me, Ms. Pettit. might know something that I might not know. So we have to know. And hopefully the next couple of weeks, we can get something done and hopefully we can make that vote on in February. Thank you.
One thing I've said to many board members recently, and I've shared this with our staff, is that this is the process, right? You're elected officials where we are the government, whether we want to say it that way or not. And so this is the process. It's transparent. It's happening in public. And I think in my conversations with our teachers, especially, they're very respectful of, yes, they know they want a decision, but they do understand that the board is being thoughtful and considerate about the process. So just wanted to add that in. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. So. February. We're going to have more information from, about transportation. And we'll decide if we're going to vote or not. Yep, on what we're going to do. So, and you're going to get those things together for us.
Yeah, and I'll work with board leadership on, and honestly, I'll probably have to work with legal counsel to make sure I'm drafting motions properly on something like this.
I was off Mondays.
Okay, we'll do it Mondays. But we'll have to work with board leadership on drafting what possible motions might be for the board to consider. And again, I'm just going to say it again. What I'm hearing is decision on what and a decision on when. Okay. Is that fair to say what and when? So 2 questions. Right. Okay.
One more question, Dr. Woods, because I just flipped my paper over. With option 4, would there be social workers in every school?
Yes. Thank you. I mean, unless kindergartners don't need it. That was a joke. Of course they do.
What are they like? What and what?
Oh, are you going to send out a survey to them?
Yeah.
They can tell us which.
Families, and after one for families, one for staff. And I've already started drafting it.
Okay.
And as I said, I think it's going to be, in this type of survey, more direct and, this or that. Not. So a simpler survey.
Okay. Number 9, information items.
Oh, very excited. Information items. We had our FOIA. I forgot to put on the agenda last month to share with you, but it's just a recurring one. I'd like to say that while the grade level schools has gotten us some media lately, I did not put out a press release or ask for media, just so everyone knows. Apparently, WCIA reads our Facebook posts. The student discipline report is in your packet. First reading of board policy updates. This was from the October 24 press issue. It is nothing significant. There are 7 policies to be updated. And it's all just either part of a 5-year review or just updates because of new laws, but nothing substantial. So I'll do a more careful reading of those prior to the next board meeting, and that'll be on. Usually those are on the consent agenda at the next meeting. So that was it for information.
Do business. Everybody have new business?
I got
Like
one.
Tyler does.
Nikki and I are on the same page. I know everybody wants us to rip the Band-Aid off. I want to rip it off too. I get it. But for an action item to go up for vote next month, I would like whatever decision is made whatever decision is made, that it would be implemented in the 26-27 school year. So can it be worded like that?
I think that it would need,
Would it?
yes, it can be worded like that, but that might not pass. Well, I mean, that's why I don't know, but I don't have a good answer. I'm just thinking of,
I think it's because we had just talked about how we're gonna vote on two different things next time. We're gonna vote on which option we want and when it's gonna start, whether it be this coming fall or the next.
But since I made it a new business, would it have to be worded as I worded it?
not necessarily. It could be, that can be a motion that someone could make.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, if we decide, couldn't we can just make a motion about that.
Right, so what I was trying to get clear,
Because I can't make the motion right now.
right, because we can't have a vote yet. So, what I want to get clarification on is, can we do it with just one vote, or do we need to have it be two separate votes? That makes sense.
So option A, so we'll say date A or date B. Is
Yeah,
that-
so like, well, it could be like, okay, like someone would make a motion for grade level schools. Okay, gets a second, so now we have to vote. Does it pass? Okay, the vote happens, it fails. Now someone's gonna have to call a motion for option 3. Does that pass? That passes. Then can there be another motion then that says we start fall 25 and then, or fall 26? You're wanting to wrap it up all into one.
I want it to be 26, 27.
Yes.
A motion to say, I will make a motion for whatever we choose to start 26, 27.
But I want the option in that case for 24, 25.
25.
Or 25, 26. Sorry, that's this year.
Yeah.
Not saying that like, but I think that if it can be done, I want that to be an option. So. Because I mean, I think another thing is we're getting information from, well, and I think hopefully the teacher survey, like, please give us like honest perspectives if we do this, few things we can do in the fall, because otherwise like we're waiting a year. So I think that that is really another piece of the puzzle now, like if it's grade level centers, you know.
What's wrong with waiting a year to get our ducks in a row? I know you keep on saying because of the financial piece of it, but would it
Like, I'm
be
not,
better if we financially, if we only do something this major once?
and again, I don't disagree. I'm not like dead set on it. I'm just saying, like, I think that we could get some more answers and it could be feasible.
Yeah.
So I'm not comfortable saying absolutely not 26 if it's possible in 25. So it's not that I'm saying I'm dead set on the fall,
I hear
like
you.
not even in the slightest. You know, if it can't be
Yeah.
done, it can't be done. But if it can, and it can be done in a way that makes sense, then why would we wait and not realize those benefits? You know what I mean? So,
And
I
then,
just think it's a lot because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The preschool is moving, we wanna go to whatever option. It's a lot. We talk about mental health and all the stuff.
No,
Are we
I get
talking about, it's a lot.
it's so much.
Well, let's see
Again,
what
I'm
the
not
survey
saying
says.
I'm like
All I
totally
gotta do
dead
is be
set on anything.
yay or nay. My mental health is gonna be all messed up.
So let's wait for the survey and back to Dr. Woods, trust the administration to this all this information, and then we can make more, what they say, enlightened decision.
and I want you to say survey says, all right, fine. And the other business.
Yeah, do business.
I need
They don't say anything, so. And superintendent comments. Ooh. Superintendent, you want to go
I'll
first?
go first.
Then we'll go.
Just some
Sorry, this is
dates.
a lot of water.
Some dates coming up. Sunday, this Sunday is the community-wide Martin Luther King celebration. We are not hosting it, but it is being hosted at Ader in the main gym, the Summers Carter gym. So 2:00, everyone's welcome. Our next regular meeting is Thursday, February 20th. The African American Heritage Night celebration is Friday, February 28th. That's something you're going to want to go to, board members. We'll make sure to get information out. I think the committee met today to finalize some things and are going to have some information go out soon. Kind of a cool thing, which nobody else needs to attend. But we are hosting an event for ISB, the Illinois School Board. We're a regional location for them on March 26th. They're launching a new platform that really only administrators and clericals deal with. It's currently called IWAS, and they're moving to a new system called My ISB, and we're one of the host sites. So if you really want to come and hang out with people from ISB Tech Department, come on March 26th.
Yeah, that's my birthday.
Is that spring break? I didn't even check. That's not spring break, is it? Because I'm supposed to be there. All right. That's all I had for superintendent.
Board comments?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Appreciate it.
Once again, thank you. I say it every meeting. Thank you. It takes a lot of guts to come up here and say what you need to say. We appreciate it and, go Bills. I will make the motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. And the one who says on. Thank you, everybody.
Mickey, I'm gonna beat you. Little short-legged women. Just you.
You brought me your part? Yeah.
You win?
She got many mistakes.
Good for her.
Did you know
Did
she
very
was
well.
this time? No. Someone told me, right?
Oh, no, I didn't know. I didn't know.